not a board member, you are welcome. Did you stop?
Oh no, I started it. It took a bit.
Okay. You are welcome.
We're recording.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elliot. Anyone who is not a board member, you are welcome to join and watch the meeting, but we just ask that you don't comment during the board meetings. The board meetings, we deal with the nonprofit side, vote, make motions, do that kind of thing. So do we have any public comment today? What's on everybody's mind? And if any board members have something that they want to talk about that isn't on the agenda, it's also a great time to do it.
Happy spring, Margaret.
I'm sorry?
Happy spring. It's here.
Happy
finally.
spring. So I will let you all know that we did have a Whitaker Community Art Team meeting yesterday, and it went great. And we have 2 co-chairs. I will continue to be on the committee, but I am no longer the chair. Actually, Gloria, who is co-owner of Equiano Coffee, and Layla, Floyd, who you guys met at the meeting last week, they're going to both be co-chairs. And so we have someone who's in charge of doing everything else. So it's pretty exciting. Once I have the minutes from the meeting, I will send it to everybody. And the Last Friday Art Walk starts May 31st. And we already have, I think, 15 venues confirmed. So, and if you all haven't noticed, I've been posting the website everywhere and the Facebook page. All right. Anything else? I'm just not so used to such a quiet board.
It's summertime. People are happy, relaxed.
That's good, Dan. All right. Well, then we will go ahead and I don't see any reason why not to get this started. Does anyone else?
All you.
So the first thing I want to do is get approval of the minutes for April and May. You were all emailed a copy. I know that this is new for many of you. So what happens is that Julie takes the minutes with every meeting. They're emailed out. For instance, when she emailed them out, I emailed her back and said, you need to change yourself from just a resident. She's our interim secretary. So she revised the minutes. She revised, Thea is our health and safety liaison, even though she's not on the board. So we want to make sure that our minutes are, as concise and as accurate as possible, but not so much so that Julie doesn't have an opportunity to participate in any meeting that we do. And we will be having the an election next month, which will take all of about 5 minutes, I'm going to guess. Do we have a motion to approve? Did everybody get an opportunity to read through the minutes? I make a motion that we approve the April and May minutes. Do I have a second?
You do. I
second.
Great. Everyone in favor, please raise your hand. So Sue, Steen, you guys are not going to vote? Are you voting no, abstaining? We'll give him a second and it's okay. So, oh, well, we have to get that right. Technical difficulties. So there's a motion on the floor to approve the April and May minutes. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion about it? We already voted once, so all in favor. We have Chris, Dan, Margaret, Elliot, all voted yes. Steen, how do you vote? Yes? Fantastic. And Sue? So you vote no on approving the minutes? Okay, fantastic. So you're saying that your name was misspelled in the minutes. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, my name was misspelled.
Okay, sorry about that. And just for future reference, when if you get an email and you read through the minutes and you're like, hey, my last name is Steinbrunn. My name gets misspelled all the time and people also mispronounce it. But so when Julie emails the minutes and there's a change, that something that you would like, your name needs to be changed or something like that, just email her back and she'll be happy to fix it before the meeting.
Okay.
Can I make that correction after this meeting, or once we approve them I cannot change them? I'm new to all this. Apologies.
Well, that's a good question.
No worries, Julie. I was skimming it and I saw it and I was like, oh no, that's not right.
Dan, she can update her name after the meeting's over, right? Can't hear you. Yes, that would be great, Julie. Thank you very much.
I'll do that, Sue. I think it was a typo. I know how to spell your name. I'll fix it.
I would also, so the last few years, traditionally, we do not have a board meeting or a general meeting in December because it lands on the holidays. It's Christmas, all of that. The last couple of years, we actually have not had a board or a general meeting in July either. July is traditionally the Oregon Country Fair. There's not, what's happening in the neighborhood is happening out at the country fairgrounds. And plus, it gives us a couple of months throughout the year to be able to take some time. So I would like to make a motion that this year that we have no meetings, that we have no board meeting and no general meeting in July or in December. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Great. Is there any discussion? Doriandra, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. I want to suggest maybe we also take that time off from the public health and safety meeting. I think if folks want to
I
have,
agree with that. That way,
Okay, great.
July can be vacation.
Well, for some, there'll still be an art walk.
Okay.
And there'll still be music in the park.
and grant.
Separate, but no.
And there
yeah.
still will be grant stuff happening, but so let's just make sure that we have this right. No general meeting, no board meeting, and no public health and safety committee meeting. Is that correct? Is there any more discussion about that? Julie?
I see that several people have seconded, and I want to know who to write down, or
Whoever did it first.
I think that was Dan verbally.
Okay, great.
Maybe I just didn't see the text, but that's who I wrote down.
I think you're right.
Yeah, just whoever does it first. And I'm glad to know we're all enthusiastic about taking off July and December. That's a great thing. All right, all those in favor? Okay, so Sue and Steen, okay. Can you see everyone, Julie? Because I can't. I have 5 people in one little screen.
Yes, I can see everyone on my screen and it looks unanimous.
Okay, fantastic.
Unless anyone, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, do we have any any nays to that? Or anyone that is wishes to abstain? Okay, fantastic. So as we move along here, Doriandra, our executive director, you're up, and then Cindy will join us about 8 o'clock.
Great. Thank you. All right, folks. Good to see everyone or know that you're here. I want to start with some great news that I got another grant for WCC. Yay. This one, this is a demonstration grant which came from AARP. It's to improve community livability. And out of the 3,400 nationwide applicants, our project stood out, and it will be one of only 13 grant awardees. So great. The point of this, or the work plan, is to advance emergency preparedness for the 50 plus demographic by enhancing digital connectivity during disasters with alternative cell phone power sources and satellite expansion. So, yes, it's pretty exciting. We weren't funded the full amount, but we have enough to scale down my work plan, which I'll be doing in conjunction with the ARP, and we'll kind of most likely keep on the same timeline, which was approved by them. So we'll be funded in June, and it's a $20,000 grant. We'll be buying all of our equipment at that time. So my original hope was to buy 5 satellite hubs, and then we would conduct a community survey to identify 2 things. First, we would be choosing the business owners that are 50 plus to be the satellite hubs for the community. So with the reduction of the funds, it may be more like 3, but I think if we choose strategically where those places are, we'll still have a very good hub. And then also the second part in June would be to conduct the community surveys to identify the seniors in our neighborhoods that are very low income or are struggling with connectivity issues. And then those folks would be the recipients of the alternative cell phone power banks. So then we'd be moving into August to launch the program essentially, and we would be tabling it with the Whitaker Community Market, giving the digital connectivity procedure cards to people, starting the kind of training that helps them understand if all communication stops, then go to this place, which is close enough to your house. And again, we'll have to figure out where those are, but we will. Then in September, I want to do an alignment with the Ready.gov National Preparation Month and have another one of our disaster resiliency events. And it might be nice to incorporate the demographic of this target grant and maybe have it at the Campbell Senior Center. But we also are kind of building this neat platform at having it at Washington Jefferson Park. So we can figure that out as we go if we want to shift or keep it there. But that'll be a really neat event where we're focused on this grant, and we will be passing out our existing go bag supplies and then also the cell phone backup chargers. Then in October and November, we should do the 2 online workshops for recipients of the equipment, and then also a community drill, which would work so that people, again, they know their quickest hub to go to if they have to go on foot. And then December will just be my kind of data wrap up drill. And then that's all. Then that grant is a quick turnaround. It's fast and it's efficient and will be funded in June for that one. So I look forward to kind of working with our public health and safety committee or whoever is interested to figure it out where we put them. Go ahead, Den. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't have a question. I think it's a great grant though, and I think it's going to be fantastic for the community. So congratulations on scoring that one.
Thank you. I seem to be on a roll, so it's good.
Keep it going.
Yes, I will.
Roll.
Thank you. See. Elliot, I see you have a question.
Yeah, do we already have a few candidates for the satellite internet hubs where they would be useful in an emergency, say people or businesses that already have backup power generation, stuff like that? Have we already identified that, or is that part of the grant, is to identify that through our committee meetings?
That's a great question. I have kind of located it in thought, but not really tied it down to get a list of potentials. But I mean, our first and easiest first start would be the folks at Bruns Red Apple Market, because they've got backup generators for food to some extent. So that seems like a really good start.
Okay.
Yeah. And this,
I believe that Sue had a question as well. Her hand was up first, actually.
sorry, Sue. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Yeah, my question was, and you may have partially answered it, it sounds like. The hubs, and I don't really know what a hub exactly is, but I'm assuming it's some kind of like modem or something. The situation of the hubs, it sounds like is being placed in private businesses because they have backup generation. Is that why? And why would you not? Was it the language in the grant that directs you to reach out to businesses over, for instance, nonprofits or government agencies?
Well, good question. No, the grant didn't have any specificity about where we would place them. We don't really have many nonprofits that have a home base, except say maybe Centro Latino, but then they're moving. So, Eugene Mission might be a good angle if we wanted to look at other nonprofits. But the reason I chose businesses or seniors, it doesn't have to be a business. It just needs to be a reputable person that we can enter into a legal MOU with, that they will maintain the service, because I wrote into the grant a 6-month service agreement. In other words, so the person, we would be paying for the initial satellite gear and then 6 months of that monthly service. And then it has to be somebody that's just very stable, that can continue to do those payments. It's 140 every month in perpetuity. So that's why, to me, it felt like very solid, longstanding businesses would be the wisest choice for us. Go ahead, Den.
So I think Sue's comment is a good one. That and I know you thought about this already, Doriander. It's that it sounds like we're getting a grant to buy the hardware, and we need to find some stable entities that can install that hardware and maintain it in operation. And any agency, for instance, county or state agency located in the community that already has an office where they have a backup power system would be a logical location for that. You might
Right.
also, you might also see if the grant provides for a backup power system that is commingled with the satellite unit. The way a lot of these installations are done, if they're standalone installations, is that you have a backup power system that's always grid connected until the grid goes down, and then the battery bank powers up to power the satellite connection. So if that were included in the grant, they could be located anywhere, and they wouldn't actually need a managerial entity. They'd be automatic. So.
I would really suggest, and just not to get ahead of ourselves, that if you have some input on this and you really want to participate in where they go, please come to the Health and Safety Committee meetings, because that's what they do, and that's what they talk about, and then they bring this to the board and we talk about it. But we're way putting the cart before the horse. I will tell you, those of you that didn't make it to the health and safety, to the disaster resiliency event, somebody told me they saw it on the news at the pool this morning. I was swimming and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you guys on the news." I'm like, "What?" But please come to the meetings. Let's participate, and this is all something that we work on together. And that the committees would love to have this information, but ultimately that's where it will be narrowed down at. Briandra, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. Yeah, and just another point, Sue, and thank you, Margaret. That's exactly what I would have said. It's like, this is where we develop it. We got the money, let's figure out the best use of it. So definitely those meetings are really helpful, because I take what I got and then give it back to the board, or the Public Health and Safety Committee, and then the ideas seem to flow and we target plans. So, okay, excellent. Any other questions about that? And please always just, if you've got great ideas, send them to Margaret and she can pass them on to me. It's great. Okay. Moving on.
And welcome, Derek. Glad you made it in.
All right.
All right, Briandra, go ahead.
Sure. So the next one that I want to talk about programmatically that we have going is the CHIP grant, the Community Health Improvement Plan, and that's the small bucket garden one. Thea was so kind to create a curriculum that we were able to roll out for the disaster resiliency event. And so we were able to kind of set up a table there and show folks what we will be doing, which was really helpful. We had a lot of really interested people. So far, I've hit the ground running with that one, and we received a donation for our buckets. So we have 50 of the starter buckets coming from Hummingbird Wholesale. That was really gracious. They saw the logo online and wanted to participate. So that is kind of coming together. We have market dates for the Whitaker Community Council set up for June 9, June 23rd, July 7, and July 21. And I'll get those posted on social media so we all are on the
Set
same.
up where?
At the Whitaker Community Market. Yeah, thanks. So the deliverables for this grant are super fun. We need to do 10 community events in the sense of interaction, talking, online. So we've got the 4 solid market dates there, which are the real giveaway places. That's where we'll be passing these buckets and all of the stuff on to families. But in terms of the 10 events, we've launched our event, which we did in, let's see. I just saw something from Chris, Janet.
I'll take care.
Yeah, I'm reading the message. I think the thing to tell her is just to click the blue box that says join with Meet. at the top if she's seeing that.
I just
Sometimes it can be
emailed her
hard.
I just emailed her the link. It's the same thing I did with Derek, and he
Okay.
can write in. So hopefully she knows to click on the link.
We're getting there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a slow climb, but we're getting there. All right. So let's see, back to that. So by tabling that event, we've got one of those events done, and I invited Friends of Trees to that event, and they did a wonderful presentation about trees and sustainable landscaping. They talked a little bit about permaculture, and they were fabulous. So we'll be able to knock those out. And then the target goal is for 50 families in total, or individuals, to receive 3 to 4 of these buckets, and they'll have 3 to 4 plants in each. So it's quite a lot of small, cool gardens going out. And we're excited that we're on the way there with the first donation coming from Hummingbird Wholesale. So yeah, talking about our disaster resiliency event, it was amazing. And we would really value it if folks could come and support us there. It was a great turnout. We had our fire department, we had Eugene Police Department, we had Friends of Trees, Green Hill, we had a representative from MedTech that had a really cool CPR setup, so you could learn and practice on saving somebody, which was a lot of fun. We also had our partners, Willamette Food and Farm Coalition. They presented a great set of seeds and giveaways, so people were able to start their own home gardens with some of those giveaways. And then our disaster fun, recipes for disaster event went swimmingly well. It was quite fun. We received generous donations from Eugene Mission, Bruns Market, and yeah, those were 2 donors. So we had an incredible pantry of food. It was kind of ridiculous, all the things they could choose from. And we had the 3 categories: crisis comfort, the gluten vegan, and then the disaster desserts. And so we had 3 lucky winners, and those gift baskets were donated by Eugene Mission. They were absolutely beautiful. We also had Ninkasi donated gift cards. So excellent event, a lot of fun, super happy people. And I really think that'll be something we do again because it was just so fun. Would you agree, Margaret?
Yes, it was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, for being a brave volunteer judge. And then we also had Jennifer from Burrito Brigade as our 3rd judge. So at the end of the event, all of the extra food that was left over unopened all went donated to Burrito Brigade. And then all the fine cooking stuff, every chef had their own little cutting board and knives and mixing bowls, and all of that was lent to us by Eugene Mission. So all that went back to their Life Change kitchen. So really great event. I just hope to see more of you next time as we keep doing these fun events. So let's see, 2 things coming up also. We need volunteers, and I during COVID had found just an incredible array of volunteers in the community that would come and help us run those clinics and help us, channel 100 people at a time through the lines. And I had reached out to every single one of them for this disaster resiliency event, but folks from the university had graduated and moved on, and different things happened since then. So if, as a board, we know people that would want to get out and help us, it's really important for those of us that organize it to have the support then for the boots on the ground. So that would be a definite ask. I hope we can work on that. And leading into that now, Elliot has generously donated his storage space that he's had in the Whitaker to the council. So this lets us move all of our stuff from our storage. The only one we could find at the time, which was way out, it's Jurassic Storage. And although it has giant dinosaurs that are super fun for selfies every time, like real giant dinosaur movie set stuff, it was very impractical in terms of events and whatnot. So we started moving into that on Saturday after the event. And we need some help from folks to get the archives that are stored there. We have 3 huge wooden filing cabinets that Derek moved last time. I'm sure he remembers. We also have those beautiful paintings by Brett Pendlebury, those massive community paintings. And just amazing. There's some amazing stuff in the storage, and we've got to get that over by Friday, May 31st, when our lease at Jurassic Storage runs out. So I am not sure how to coordinate that. I have to go in for a shoulder surgery, say that fast, in June to rebuild my right shoulder. So I'm feeling a little feeble on one side right now. So I don't know, maybe Derek, we could use your truck again and kind of do a coordinated effort. But maybe we'll start that off.
How much total stuff are we talking about? Like, what's the total volume? I don't have a truck. I've got a SUV, but and I'm happy to help with just physical lifting. But yeah, how much stuff are we talking about?
Sure. The space we had was a 10 by 10, and we've moved, I'd say about, Julie, would you think about half of it out for our event?
Yeah, so I was probably the last person present here anyway who was in there, because I was in there last Friday with Thea. We didn't take anything back. Of course, everything we removed went to the new storage. There are light purple folding chairs, enough to fill a pretty good sized rolly thing. 20 or 25 would be a guess. There are 3 heavy looking wooden filing cabinets that must hold the archives. Thea told me that the drawers come out, and so they're not quite as cumbersome as they look. There are a number of black folding screens, so bulky but not heavy. I think the heaviest thing is the filing cabinets. And you're right, Doriandra, it was about half full when we left it. There's a number of miscellaneous-ish boxes full of stuff. And yeah, that's maybe all that I remember, but it's about half full. Maybe 1 or 2 good pickup loads full.
Yeah.
Hey, Janet made it.
Pardon me.
have a
Thank
prayer.
you, Janet. Thanks for joining us. If you could mute yourself, that would be great. Thank you. And I'm glad you got in. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Ted.
I have a trailer that's like 4x8 that's open top, and we can, once I dump the garbage that's in it, we can use it to haul anything we want. And so provided
That sounds perfect.
Provided we have help to heft the stuff. I mean, I'm in my 70s, so I don't heft very well anymore. So if somebody could help us heft that stuff into the trailer, I'd be happy to drive it anywhere you want.
Okay.
I'd be happy to help lift.
Great.
I've got 2 young kids that keep me extremely active, so I'm happy to do it. So yeah, just I don't know how many folks it'll take, but
when did you want to do
that? If there's a set time we want to do it.
Yeah, when did we want to do that?
Well, maybe, do you want me to maybe send out a doodle poll or something? Because it looks like we've got Elliot raised his hand too for lifting. So we have 2 hefters, which is fabulous, 1 driver, and then I'll go, of course. And
Julie, you raised your hand for something as well. Did you want to comment?
I just talked about what I saw in there last Friday.
Okay.
And I don't mind helping, but my schedule is a little rough right now, so I might be more of a hindrance than a help.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it would need to be after 5 on a weekday, or weekends tend to be a lot more flexible. I'm pretty tied up 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Okay. And Elliot, probably the same for you too, right?
Yeah, same deal. After 5 o'clock, Saturdays and Sundays are spotty for me. I'm more busy on the weekends, but just let me know and I'll tell you no, and I'll give you other tentative time.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. I'll send out a doodle, and thank you, Dan. I know you've got child stuff in the afternoon, but are you free after 5 generally?
On weekdays, I could make it after 5. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're all in the same boat then.
We got plenty of light this time of year.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, that's
It
great.
feels like 3 at 5. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good. Okay, fabulous. That's going to feel so great to be central now. And thank you, Elliot. It was such a relief to just move our buckets in there and the event stuff after the disaster resiliency. It was really.
What's a doodle, Doriandra? Sorry.
Oh, it's just a little doodle poll where like it gives us a couple times. So you select 1 or 2 times that work for you. We might not need it though if it's just
Okay, got it.
So
I think we get it sorted, but yeah, it's a availability poll.
yeah, there you go. Well, I'll just email us and let's see what we can do. Anytime next week works for me. Should we? Let's see, 3 o'clock. Monday
next week.
Monday or Thursday night. I could do. Any of those work?
Of which day?
The 21st or the 21st I'm sorry, 20th is Monday.
Right.
Or then Thursday, which is the 23rd.
It might need to be that Thursday for
Thursday's
me.
better. So
Yeah,
Thursday's
better for me.
Okay. How about you, Elliot?
Thursday works.
Woohoo! We have a winner. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
What time?
5:30?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Where are we meeting?
I'll send you the address.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
send you everything you need.
Will you send me a link to that? Because I'm not real clear on what the meetup is.
Oh, it's okay,
Or-
Jan. We're just moving all of the rest of our WCC archives and our storage
Oh, okay. Okay.
into the new storage. So we just needed some hefters. As it's being
yes.
Volunteers.
Yay!
Thank
I'm
you,
so excited.
Elliot. Yeah, for the link. That worked.
Glad it worked.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well, thank you both, all 3 of you. That's great. Maybe we can check that off the list. That's great. All right. So I think that's really all I have. We're going to go into talking about our finances now with our bookkeeper, Vicky Lynn. I called you Bookie Lynn. I'm sorry. But just 2 more quick things about the pending grants. We have 2 more kind of pans in the fire there. We have our Oregon Resiliency Emergency Management Grant, and we'll have notification by early June of that one. That's those interesting Conex trailers that will drop down into the Whitaker and be emergency hubs. And then also we'll know about our Healthy Homes Grant, which will update older homes in the Whitaker by early July. So I'm keeping all fingers crossed, and we'll move into those new opportunities. So now Vicky Lynn is going to.
Janet has a question, Dorian.
Go ahead, Janet.
Okay. I'm not sure how to get the hand up on this, but with regard to those 3 Connex, have you found locations for those to site those 3 boxes?
Yeah, I've given the city a list of preliminary
Okay.
options that our public health and safety meeting committee.
And to be brief, was it my thought on locating them on or near within the Ward 7 Whitaker area at those water sites that eWeb provides? Was that taken into consideration as possibly sites or a site?
And no, we didn't. We weren't working with you at that time that we developed that list that went to the city. That was like 2 months ago. So 2 or 3 months. Would you want to let me know what those locations are? Could you send them to Margaret?
I will send those to you because I think that would make a kind of a one-stop shop for those during that difficult times.
Sure.
It's kind of a centralized. And could someone email me a list of the current sites as they are now?
Yeah, we're
in
kind
the
of,
others.
Why don't you come to the Health and Safety Committee meetings?
That
We're
way.
going to start sending invites out for those early, and
Okay.
that's where all of those decisions will be made.
Okay,
And just so that you know, that the city basically is in charge of where they go, because
Right.
they have to go on city property according
Right.
to the grant. So the city
Right.
says, okay, you have these 5 locations or these 3 locations, and that's it. So
Okay,
we're
and
limited as far as where we can place
Okay.
them. But
And yeah, I would still be interested in getting the current list as it stands. And then I will look in, give eWeb a call and get those locations for consideration, part of the,
yeah, to my knowledge, there aren't any of those locations in the Whitaker, but we will, who knows? But, and also the grant is not asking us to put them on publicly owned land. That was my decision simply because it seems like best practice when businesses sell, they change, they foreclose, all this. And if we had our own building, if we had our own property, that's where the trailers would go. So we just don't own property yet. And
okay. And because I'm kind of getting in late, I don't know what you discussed prior, but I can appreciate Elliot's suggesting property, a site for the Whitaker WCC as a nonprofit to have their location. Am I on the right page with you on that, Elliot?
Yeah, that we're developing the community land
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might enhance the possibility or in working with the city to get that to come to full oh dear, fruition. Sorry
Yeah.
about the dogs. They're
Okay.
coming in and out.
yeah, and he's forming a committee to do that as well, Janet. I'm sure he'll put you on the list when he has a committee meeting to email
Okay.
you when those meetings are.
Okay, thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Margaret.
You
Yeah.
bet.
I just-
Elliot, do you have a question?
Just a quick comment. Yeah, this grant basically spurred this initiative that the Whitaker Community Council needs to have a property that they have full control over, basically because we've had issues in the past where we've had equipment and then slowly that equipment doesn't get inventoried and we lose track of it. And so having ownership, while we go after so much physical equipment, we should also control where that's stored. So that's
And-
for this committee.
And I second that thought. I'm fully appreciative because some years ago, there was a lot of odd occurrences happening with those that were given documents and papers and the efforts used lately to track all that information down. And I think that would secure Whitaker Community Council and any materials, documents that they have. I think that's a sound, solid idea, Elliot. I appreciate that.
Okay, Doriandra,
Yeah, I just
get
have,
us back on track here.
what did you say?
I said, can you get us back on track?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing to Elliot. I am so inspired by your land trust committee, and I want you to know that there is one incredible grant coming out from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It's called the Culture of Health, and it's a $250,000 award that has 0 strings attached. So we would have no deliverables, no budget templates, no work plans. It is entirely up to the Whitaker Community Council how they wish to spend it. And I'm working on that as we speak. The deadline is June 30th. It's going to be a super tight, amazingly concise. It has to be written in 11-point Times New Roman and only can be 1 page. And so I've been going through the Whitaker Community Council newspapers that we had in storage, the archive, and I'm just going to do this like tight little beautiful timeline all the way up into now and just let it fly and see what happens. It would be a miracle, but that would be your whatever you need. That's 250. If the council chose to spend it on a building, that would be a great start. So
Nice. Let's hope this pitch is perfect, because
yeah,
that looks amazing.
Yes.
yes, I'll share it with some folks to get some editing on it. But if we, it'll be weirder things have happened, right? So, all right, so that's all I have. I want to get us back to. Oh goodness. Okay, Vicki Lynn, our bookkeeper. She apparently was on, but got kicked off somehow. So let's see. Try it again. Let's see, we're ready for you. Elliot, did you by chance get those?
I did. Yeah, let me pull them up.
Thank you. My internet seems stable, but maybe if Vicki Lynn can't get back online, we could just have Den walk us through them.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
Doriander, walk you through what?
Our
Oh,
profit and loss.
yeah, profit and loss statement. Vicki Lynn wanted to share it, but
Oh,
she's having trouble. We were afraid of this.
yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, here's Elliot.
All right, can you see?
Yes, we can see.
Great. So let's just look. So this is the profit and loss for the entirety of April. And I already looked this over, so I can make a few comments.
Okay.
So currently our income for the month is just purely from grant income. We received no donation income. And overall, just on the monthly basis, we went negative, but that's okay. Our grant income is really lumpy. So this was just a lean month for income. There is one line item here, unknown, which I think is actually our 1099 contractor wage that might line up with our social media coordinator.
Oh,
No, that's not accurate.
yeah, I can help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
That was
Go ahead,
just,
Margaret. Take it away.
So on April 11th, it's long, complicated. There's a million emails, and it went through the executive board, and it started last year with the last year's board. But basically, since 2020, when we started getting grants, every grant has gone into general funds, and all the money was mixed together in one pot. So what we have done is we have, I went into the bank, and we had to wait until someone's term was over because we are a nonprofit. There can only be certain people that are signers on the account, and they have to stay on the account until such time that the Secretary of State updates the website, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, so we separated money. So this is not accurate at all, what we're looking at. I don't really understand why she did it this way, if you want to know the truth. So that $1,342 is actually WCC funds. That 1342 came out of which is what is now called the grant account, and actually restricted grant, simply because that's where they've excuse me for a minute, that's where they've deposited every single grant. Every penny that we've been allocated through grant funds has gone through that account. And that account used to be called general funds. So every money that we got from the city, money that the WCC, that the neighborhood association has gotten, wherever that money came from, it went into that account. Well, we have since separated that, and that won't happen anymore.
right,
So we have a WCC fund for the neighborhood association, and we have grant funding where the grant funds go. So
Great.
that 1342 went into the WCC because that's what was left over from grants that we could put into its own account that belongs to the Whitaker Community Council.
Okay, that lines up the market.
Yeah.
Looking at the balance sheet
And
we
Vicky
have.
Lynn actually is in, and she has her hand raised. So
Perfect.
She made it in.
yes,
Great. I've been texting her. Okay.
So Vicky Lynn, go ahead, please.
I was having pulled the balance. You can see that they involve the different accounts. Number match the bank statements, the current bank account as of May 13th. Everything that's in the bank.
Okay, you're cutting out really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elliot, do you want to give
Um,
an assessment, and then if there's
so-
questions, maybe Vicky Lynn can answer, because it's hard to hear her. Maybe she can
Perfect.
text the answer or put in the chat.
That unknown line then makes sense because looking at our bank accounts, there is 1342 right here in general funds. So that makes sense. If it was just an internal transfer, that was just one thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
One more red flag I wanted to bring up is under liabilities, we have a credit card balance that's currently open. Wondering,
We don't have any credit cards, so that's not accurate either. We
Okay.
had a credit card from last year. There was a credit card. We don't have a balance on it. Any credit cards that were open were under the, they may still be showing on the report, but they were under the chair's name. For instance, Delinia had a credit card that was under her name, and it went with her when she went. Ian had a credit card that was under his name. It went with him when he went. When he left. We actually don't even have any of those statements, unfortunately, and we have no way to get them because they were under their social security numbers. But we do not have a credit card. We don't need one. As I explained, we've gone completely paperless. Briandra has a debit card for the grant account, and that's it. And I have a debit card for all of our other checking.
okay.
And we are trying to go as paperless as we possibly can.
So it looks like that category is probably just needs a different name on it. Vicky Lynn, what's your take on that?
That's
Are you able to put it in the chat? Oh, geez. Vicky Lynn, why don't you just text me how to describe that, and I'll let everyone.
You know, I've worked on the bank account. Den can attest to this, and Den is our treasurer. And ultimately, Den, you should be familiar with what we're looking at. I mean, this is, you know, this is your position here. But Den can attest that I went through. I mean, I cannot tell you. I went through our bank and all of our statements and all of our stuff for the first 9 months of being.
Margaret knows the bank accounts inside and out. Margaret knows the accounts inside and out. And no, so I think that what we do need here, I think, as the treasurer, I do need to say that what we do need here is an accurate balance sheet statement. And so I encourage Vicky Lynn to put one together. And if the liabilities and equities category no longer applies, we have to remove it. And we have to justify this somehow. And so let's back up and try again, please.
I agree with that.
So she's texting me and she's sending her apologies. Vicky Lynn is traveling, and so she's in a place that has really bad reception tonight. But she says that will be closed out at the end of the fiscal year. It's kind of a archive, or it's a antiquated line in there that will leave once we close fiscally.
Correct. Okay. There are things with the bank because QuickBooks and the bank are connected together. So, for instance, we had accounts previously. We had a money market account, and why we had a money market checking account with only $100 in it was I didn't understand that a money market account is made to make money. You put savings in there, and you leave it, and you grow interest. So I closed that account and I took the $100 and I just put it into general funds. And I did that, but previously I did that last year. But that money market account still showed up through the end of the year because that's how the bank works. So I'm going to guess that it's the same thing with the credit card. It's something close to that, but we do not, just so that everyone knows, I should have looked at this previously myself. I didn't realize that Vicky Lynn was going to not be able to get logged in or have technical difficulties as well. But what we're looking at is not accurate. So good eye on that, Elliot. Thank you for pointing it out. And I hope that that I answered some of your questions.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely keep a good eye on the money. I mean, that's part of my
So because we're so most of our income comes from grants, I was actually curious if maybe we can put together a income forecast with the grants we currently have work in progress on, because our bank accounts are pretty lean, and I just want to make sure the stuff that we currently have in WIP can cover us and our expenses going forward.
right.
So
We did that last year before you guys, Grandra did all of that with the previous board. And then we did it again because we had a grant change. So I know somewhere she has all of that on paper about the grants and everything that it will cover.
great. And we've done this before, and I'd like to put a motion to the board for us to get an updated and revised version of that. Just a new forecast for this board, including the new grants that we're currently going for.
I agree. I agree.
Grandra, are you okay with that?
Oh, of course, yeah. Because what we did was built kind of an emergency one back in January when we had 3 months of back payments. We were late with getting all the grant payments, and so it was really a tight, kind of scary time. But what I built was an emergency, or not an emergency, but a 6-month snapshot. And so I have that in a whole organizational budget. What I've been working on with guidance from the Center of Nonprofit, and Vicky Lynn will be, we're going to dial it in pretty soon. We're taking all the grants and getting them into like a braided, I hate that term, but we're taking all the streams of income as we are predicting them to come, and then putting them into that organizational budget so that we have a month-by-month snapshot. We know what our revenue is, what our out needs are, and what we have left over, because every grant has a specific rate for the indirect rate, which means that those have to be tightly done. With the new banking system now that's been set up, there's 5 accounts. Margaret's done an exceptional job kind of getting those all cleaned up, so that now, for instance, all of grant funding is going to come into one account. We're going to be leaving indirect funds in the main account and then moving into the other grant funded one. So because there's so many buckets of funding coming in, and we needed that kind of granular look at it. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're making what he's asking for, right?
It's done. Yeah. And I just need to, I want to redo it in June, because then we'll have the two, we'll know if we're adding the OREM grant to it. And that's in alignment with our fiscal year. So we'll have another one done for the coming year, fiscal year, probably by the end of this month, and we can share that with you then.
Yeah, perfect. Can we add that as an agenda item on the June board meeting?
For the
Have
board?
that presented to us?
Sure, that sounds great.
Perfect. All right, all good then.
Okay. Briandra, do you have anything else?
I think Janet
has a question.
Yeah, getting back to the statements about the general fund and having a union background and working with education and their budgets, you mentioned, Margaret, that the fund, it was commingled or put together. I was wondering if those grant monies were target specific, and if so, were they isolated so that they met the conditions of the grant?
Every
Thank you.
grant that we've ever had has that we are not currently involved in. Every grant has been closed out. It has. We have successfully completed it and done all the paperwork. And Doriandra is a shining star with OHA, CDC, FEMA.
Thank
The
you.
reason why
Thank you for that, because
Yeah.
I think what Elliot's driving at, and I agree, and I have thought on this too, is we want to have clean books and no.
Yeah, I would
no-
really suggest if you, and I know
Yeah.
Elliot's gone back and watched prior board meetings.
Yes,
A lot of this stuff, if you go on the YouTube channel,
yeah,
you'll be amazed at how much information you can find in there.
yes, and it hasn't always been around though, because I go back way back when there were major issues with
Right.
things.
Well, it has been
Yeah.
since we've
Yeah.
been getting
Okay.
grants this time.
And I'm
There's-
so pleased now to be on this board because this one, I think the way it's being run now is 100% better than what my memory serves in years ago. So I'm right on board with just starting and being clear with the monies if they're, as a nonprofit. I'm curious about the bank. Is it Columbia Bank that does the banking with?
Well,
W-
Columbia Bank no longer exists.
Oh, okay.
Columbia was taken over by Umpqua.
Okay. Is Umpqua in fact the bank then?
Yes. Why?
Okay. Well, because I remember in our union talks with bargaining, the union opted to go with, at that time, Columbia Bank. And simply because they had the connections or the ability to report to the state. And so the state had knowledge of the comings and goings.
Well, I assure you
that.
all that we have the best banker in the world.
Okay, good.
We have a
I-
personal banker and we know each other very well.
That's good.
Um,
I'm a credit union person. I like being a member of my credit union, but banks, I guess, have their place in the
Well,
market too.
if we got rid of Cameron, I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
He's
not
been with us
advocating.
since the beginning of Ian as well.
Yeah.
Actually, since Chris Gatsby, when we started getting grants, so he
Yeah.
knows all of our history. Okay.
Thank
So we actually are getting a little behind on our agenda. Doriandra, do you have anything else to cover?
No, that's great. Thank you for your time and look forward on with Cindy.
Fantastic. And Doriandra, you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you for everything. And
Thank you.
yeah, keep up the great work.
I'm going to stay on with you, but turn my camera off and eat dinner. So
Okay, we're very blessed to have you. So yes, so please, for those of you that have never met, so Cindy Kohler is here to talk to us a little bit. What I'm going to ask is that we hold any questions. Please, everybody, mute yourself. If you have a question, maybe just jot it down. She's going to talk a little bit about what it means to be a board for a neighborhood association. And she's also going to talk a little bit about NORP and about some things that recently happened with the city council. So she'll be more than happy to take questions when we're done, but this way we can make sure we get all of her information out. It's more than likely she'll answer the question before we ever ask it, if we just let her get to the end. So Cindy, are you here?
I am. Hello, and thank you for having me. Doriandra, enjoy your dinner. I was snacking while you were talking. So yes, thank you for having me tonight. So yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about neighborhoods in general, the role of the neighborhood board, and NORP. NORP sounds like it should be a snack, but it's the Neighborhood Organization Recognition Policy that's been around since 1976. So Eugene is one of, I think there's 3 communities in Oregon. Well, no, there's not. There's more than that now. But not every community has formally recognized neighborhood associations. Eugene has, since the 70s, had formally recognized neighborhood associations. We currently have 23. 2 of them are largely industrial. We have the industrial corridor. It's just above Train Song, between the railroad tracks and the River Road Community Organization. And then we also have the West Eugene Community Organization, and that is the whole area south of West 11th that's largely industrial. So those 2 areas, the industrial corridor and WECO, are largely industrial. So while they're formally recognized, they do not receive the same level of support as the residential neighborhood associations. Of the 21 neighborhood associations that are residential, 17 of them are active. We just had, and I'm so disappointed, we just had Harlow neighborhood just went inactive. So we're going to be focusing on helping them get a new board and be reactivated. So neighborhood associations, let me talk about the NORP a little bit first, because that's probably a better description of how the city supports the neighborhoods and how the neighborhoods, really support not just the community, but also the city of Eugene, the organization. So the Neighborhood Organization Recognition Policy really defines the work that the city does to help support the neighborhood associations, and the work that the neighborhood associations do in turn to help support the organization and the broader community. Neighborhood associations they're really an integral part of our community engagement process at the city.
I'm sorry, Janet, can you put yourself on mute, please?
I'm trying to see where the skew
It's just
is.
a little microphone button at the bottom.
I can do Janet. I got
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
We good? Can everybody hear me okay? I guess I should ask that. Thumbs up, yeah? Okay, cool beans. So this, about 2.5 years ago, our department, well, actually every few years, our team takes a look at the policies that we use to guide our work, and where the gaps are. That, like I said, the original Neighborhood Organization Recognition Policy, or NORP, was approved in 1976 by mayor and council. As you can imagine, the city of Eugene as an organization and Eugene proper is not even remotely the same as it was back in the 70s. So every decade or so, and sometimes twice in a decade, we will go back and do an amendment to the NORP to make some changes that make the NORP more relevant, or more includes more technology, or includes the model charter. And then we went back and updated the model charter. And about 3 years ago, our team really sat down and said, okay, is this working for us? We need to really take a good look at our program, as the city of Eugene was moving to priority-based budgeting, or project-based budgeting, meaning that instead of providing funds to each department, that in turn provided funds to each division, the city has moved to a model of supporting programs, providing funding for programs, and it's priority-based funding for programs. So all funding from the city is tied to a specific program. And we took a look at the Neighborhood Organization Recognition Policy, and there's about 9 policy documents that guide our work. And most of those policies we could make an argument that they were still consistent with the city strategic plan and the priority-based budgeting. But we could work on making things a little more clear and a little more relevant to the direction that our community is moving in. So we started with asking ourselves some just 4 pretty basic questions. One was, how does our office better promote and sustain community engagement through our neighborhood associations? We already do a lot of community engagement through the neighborhood associations, but how can we really promote that and sustain that effort? Then we also wanted to know who's not at the table, the neighborhood associations, who's not at the table. How are we supporting through our neighborhood associations renters? How are we supporting working families? How are we including and involving and engaging community members who maybe speak English as a second language? How are we really engaging, informing, and involving traditionally underrepresented communities within our neighborhood associations? How do we do that? And then we also wanted to take a look internally at our program and what are we doing that works well? And then what are we doing that we could really improve? Where do the neighborhoods need some additional support from our office? So we really wanted to take a critical look at our program and how we provide support to the neighborhood associations. And then the 4th question we asked was, how do new policies or existing policies support and guide the work that we do? Do we need to make some amendments? Do we need to make some changes? Do we want to just take a look at the entire all of our policy documents and consolidate them, which was my dream, consolidate them into one clear, concise policy document. So we reached out to a number of, we reached out to the entire board's list. Everybody who served on the board received emails from us asking for some assistance to help guide our process for engaging the neighborhoods on developing a plan, on reviewing those policies. So we went through this process, and I won't bore you with all of the details, but we had about, we had 4 different versions of the neighborhood organization recognition policy that went out to the entire board's list, asking for feedback. And we incorporated all of the feedback that we received. We received some really good feedback. We also received some feedback of, what's the NORB? What does that mean? How is it relevant? Do we need to have this? So we did some education and outreach to the boards that needed some better understanding of the value of the neighborhood organization recognition policy. And in the end, we wound up with what I'm pretty proud of, a neighborhood organization recognition policy that is clear, concise, and provides really clear direction from council on how our office supports all the really, really, really great work that you all do. So that was approved on Monday, and included in that neighborhood organization recognition policy is the model charter. So in the past, if you look at Whitaker is a great example. Honestly, Whitaker is a really great example because Active Bethel, and I think Laurel Hill is still a 501c nonprofit. So their charters, all 3 of those charters, incorporated all of their nonprofit work in their charter, which gets a little murky because the city cannot enforce elements of the charter that are part of your nonprofit. That's a separate thing for you all to determine how you want to operate the nonprofit side. So part of this new NORP is we have asked, or we will be asking, we are asking for the neighborhood association boards to separate their charter from their bylaws, which the charter needs to go before mayor and council for approval. And the charter is pretty basic. It just outlines there will be an equity statement, equity and inclusive statement in the charter, and then it outlines when your elections are, what your board looks like. You might even put what the roles of those individual board members are. Just the basic, here's what the city provides, here's what the neighborhood does, here's how we support each other in our work. And it's a pretty good outline of just our relationship between the city and the neighborhood association. And then your bylaws would not have to be approved by mayor and council. Currently, it's about 3 years ago, I think, Whitaker Community Council sent us their new charter, and it was very well thought out. And it was about 15, 16 pages, I think. Most of it related to the nonprofit work, and we couldn't get that through with all of the information that was in there. So the new model charter will help the Whitaker Community Council. It'll help the Active Bethel community. They're also 501c3, and will help the Laurel Hill Valley tease out what is their nonprofit work, what is their arrangement with the city of Eugene. And anything that is in your bylaws, you wouldn't have to get approved by our office. We would not provide you any sort of guidance or requirements on what you need to include in your bylaws. Those are your bylaws. That's your working rules, your working document that helps guide your work through your nonprofit, or if your neighborhood association is not a nonprofit, it's the working relationship that you have with your membership. So the bylaws would not have to be approved by mayor and council. They're strictly a board decision, unless, of course, it conflicts with the charter or conflicts with law. Then, of course, we would probably want to help support you in writing the bylaws, since we've never had that problem. So I'm not even remotely worried about that. So let's see. So the role of the board. Neighborhood associations are an advisory body to the city of Eugene through our office. We seriously rely heavily on our neighborhood associations to provide us feedback on policies, on programs, on work that the city is doing. You are a conduit of information and feedback for the broader community. Every single neighborhood association, we really, really rely on that information, and we rely upon the neighborhood associations to share information on upcoming projects or policies or programs that we're offering. So the individual board positions are outlined. I'm confident they're outlined in your charter. They would be outlined in the model charter too, the new charter. And it's really up to the board to determine what sort of positions that you would like to have. There's a neighborhood association that has a president and vice president, secretary, treasurer combo, and then their communications officer. That's perfectly acceptable. There are neighborhood associations that have 2 co-chairs, and then their treasurer, and then their secretary, and then their social media or communications person. And every neighborhood association also has at-large members who are voting members of the executive board. And we consider everybody who serves on the executive board to be part of that executive board. I remember I'm looking at you, Margaret. You can't see it in the Googles, but I'm looking at you at the last neighborhood summit. We had written in it was the draft 4.1. We'd written the executive board should look like this and have at least 5 members. And we had a few neighborhood associations that were like, we can't get 5. What do you mean 5? And I kept looking at their executive board list. I'm like, I don't understand what you're asking. You have 8 executive board members. And it finally, after talking about it, we heard that the neighborhood associations separate their executive board would be president or chair, vice president or vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and some have a social media or a communications person. Some don't. They just move into their at-large membership. And so they were thinking that only the 4 people were part of the executive board. But from the city standpoint, we consider everybody who serves on the board a part of the executive committee. So there isn't a single neighborhood association that is not in compliance with it already. So we're doing well there. And how you all define the work is really how the board defines the work in your charter. So if you have the chair is the one that makes the bulk of the presentations or presents the decisions, then, and that's how it's articulated in your charter, that's how you would do that work. It's entirely up to the board who does what or how you distribute that work. So hopefully that makes sense. I mean, look, I'm trying to see, it's kind of in a nutshell. Some of the work that we've been doing recently, and actually going back, I've been with the neighborhoods program for 20 years. So it's been a while. And the reason why I've been with the neighborhood associations doing this work for 20 years is because I work with really amazing people. And I'm looking at a full board of really amazing people right now. So you guys are the folks that keep me wanting to do this really great work, because you guys do really great work and it's just great to be part of it. So I would welcome any questions if you want to ask about how we're moving with the priority-based budgeting and the work plans, if you want to talk more about the board, or if you have questions about the NORP. I know a couple years ago, everybody had questions about the NORP. I think we've talked it through a whole lot in the last couple of years. So maybe nobody wants to hear it anymore. I don't know.
So do we have any questions? Anyone want to raise their hand?
I see Janet.
Yeah, Janet, go ahead.
Oh,
So,
you're
yeah.
muted now.
Yeah, sorry, Janet, you're muted. So now will be a fun time to find the mute button. Sorry, I put you on mute. Can't unmute you though.
Until then, did Dan have a?
Dan, you have a question?
Oh, Dennis, you're muted too.
Okay, so Cindy, I'd like to know when the NORP is going to be, when it's going to come down to us, and if we're going to have the opportunity to comment or edit.
No, we are done with the public process, excuse me, on the NORP. So the neighborhood organization recognition policy, we started the process, the community engagement process 2.5 years ago. We took comments up through January, the end of January. Actually, it was beyond that. Into February, we were still taking comments of this year. And then we drafted the final neighborhood organization recognition policy, the model charter, and the resolution. And then that went out for legal review. And at that time, we'd hoped to be before council in April. We were actually on the tentative agenda in April, and they moved us out until May. So the NORP is final. The new NORP that's out there, that's the one that we're operating under. So
okay, let me be sure I understand. The city would like for every neighborhood association to adopt the NORP. Is that correct?
No, that's a good question. Thank you. So the NORP is a directive from mayor and council to the city of Eugene and our neighborhoods program. So it is from mayor and council to our program, and then our program supports the neighborhood associations. So we are now bound by the neighborhood organization recognition policy.
Okay, and so the model charter, I think I was referring to the model charter. You would like every neighborhood association to adopt the model charter. Is that right?
We would like every neighborhood association to take a look at that model charter and update their model charter to be consistent with that model charter.
Okay, got it.
Right now, the model charters for neighborhood associations are a little bit all over the place. We did have, we had 2 amendments to the NORP that included changes to the model charter, but not all neighborhoods, because some of the neighborhoods already had their charter in place. Not all neighborhoods were required to go back and redo their charter to be consistent with the amendments to that's it. Honestly, the hardest part of this whole process, I mean, it was a huge, robust community engagement with the neighborhoods. Lots of good conversations, lots of feedback, but the hardest part was writing I have to write an agenda item summary for mayor and council. And in it, we explain what our process looked like, what our goals were, and then we have to link all of the different policies. So I had the original NORP, and then the amendment to the NORP, and then there was an amendment to the NORP, and then another amendment just straight to the NORP, and I had to try to draw the lines to all of the formal documents that mayor and council have already voted on and had resolutions on, and link them, and it was interesting.
Well, I think for our purposes, you know, we want to understand. So the city has a NORP and it has a model charter, and a lot of the neighborhood associations are updating their charter, and as you mentioned, many are not. And so some neighborhood associations are not adopting the model charter. Some neighborhood associations already have their own charter, as do we.
Right.
And so it begs the question. If not all neighborhood associations are adopting the new model charter, should Whitaker be adopting the new neighborhood model charter since we have an existing charter?
Yes. So the bottom line is every single active neighborhood association will be changing their charter. Will be modifying their charter to be consistent with the model charter.
Okay.
So yeah, there won't be any. In the past, there were, you know, a few. We made it optional. Like for instance, we we had to modify the model charters amendment and the NORPs, the original NORP, to allow commercial advertising. That was in 2015. That was the last amendment to the amendment. And we didn't require at that time, we just allowed advertising to be added as an option for neighborhood associations to generate some revenue in their newsletters. And not all neighborhood associations updated their charter because they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have commercial advertising in their newsletters. And we certainly didn't require them to. So that makes sense?
Yes, mostly.
Okay.
Are you done, Dan?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so Janet, I typed on the side there, since we can't get your mute off, why don't you type in what your question is? I assume you could still hear me. If you just type in the chat what your question is, then we can get it answered. We can't hear you, Janet. If you just want to type it on the side, we're more than happy to get it answered for you.
That might also be difficult for Janet because it's another navigation button. So if we can't find mute, it's probably also really difficult to find the chat.
Janet, are you on your phone? Are you doing this on your phone?
Yeah, she is, Cindy.
Oh, that might be the barrier, because it might be in a different place on your phone. I'm not certain.
Yeah, I emailed her
Okay.
link on her computer so she could that's what Derek did. He just
there.
Oh, there we go. All right.
there we go.
I am.
Good job, Janet.
Okay. I'd like a practice session with someone, but here it goes. I'm going to be upfront about it. It sounds as though when you look at it macro, this move by the city, it kind of puts the role. I thought the neighborhood associations, each in their own form, each in their own uniqueness. That's why we have 8 wards, 8 different representations at the city council table. It sounds as though, to me, feels as though, to me, as though the city is changing the very nature of the neighborhood associations. And I go to the council meetings. I don't recall. It's the point and purpose, as I understand it, and the original role of the neighborhood associations was being able to communicate from each ward or area of the city uh, to have a voice brought and communicated to the council at the council table. Now it sounds as though, to me, feels as though to me that the city is putting the directive and thou shalt do this. And it feels, I'm going to say it, a little bit like the e-web and the smart meter program. You will do this. And it feels a little pushy shovey because I don't know what the neighborhood associations are, what are like those that aren't so willing to follow and copy the so-called master charter, the example. It kind of takes away the spirit of having that freedom of thought and communication and being homogenized into one way. I'm a little offended just hearing at this level. Maybe there's more I need to understand about it.
Cindy,
But
can I make a
that's
statement?
that's what I'm saying.
Janet, so we've all been emailed the new NORP, which also has the new charter in it.
Yeah.
Cindy has emailed every person on the board. Have you read the whole thing?
I have not been able to.
So
Well, I haven't been, not willingly. I've tried
think that you'll
to
find
open up the agenda several times because I do read a lot at the local level. Lots of things are changing rapidly. And
right. So I think that you'll find that what they created and what they built really will bring some equity to all of the boards.
Yeah,
So I
and
would
flexibility.
take some time and read through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our goal was really to add some flexibility to the work of the neighborhoods and to be more inclusive. So that was really, those were 2 key areas that we wanted to see in the new charter and in the neighborhood organization recognition policy. Currently, I mean, the old NORP allowed for the city to support the neighborhoods in the printing of newsletters or postcards. And that was pretty much it. I mean, that was it. That was it. And then we were able to add in $400 for an event. But
an annual $400?
That's what it used to be, yes.
Okay.
$400, that's all you get. And it started out, that was just to cover insurance if you wanted insurance. And we managed to, through our policy documents, which also have to be approved, managed to get that to be a $400 per event, per annual event, one annual event for each neighborhood association to do whatever they needed to do for that event. If they needed to pay for entertainment or rent equipment or, whatever they needed to do. So we got a little bit of latitude there. And that was pretty much all that we could do to support the neighborhoods. It was printing or one event. And when you look at, and we have some neighborhoods that are huge, like the Bethel neighborhood, they have 1,000 addresses. So they were automatically out of compliance with the NORP. The NORP had a limit on how many addresses you could have to be considered a neighborhood association. But they're a very active neighborhood association. They have a lot going on. They are doing a lot of really great things. Why on earth would we want to go in there and tell them that they have to split? And we actually, if we were to be compliant with the old NORP, we would have to go in there and say, okay, we're going to chop you into 3 different places. And with the way Eugene is growing, we actually have 2 other neighborhoods that are also either beyond that 8% population or close to. And as we continue to densify Eugene, more and more neighborhoods would be out of compliance. So that having that limitation seemed inappropriate in today's time. They are vibrant, active, working neighborhoods. Why on earth would we want to break that apart? Why on earth would we want to ruin that? So we got rid of that language. And then we also have other pockets of neighborhoods, pockets within neighborhoods that are chronically inactive, like or part of the industrial corridor. So the West Eugene Community Organization, they're largely industrial. They don't receive the same level of support from the city that other neighborhoods receive. But we're also seeing some housing developments and some high density housing in that neighborhood. So how do we reconcile that? How do we work to support those who live in these neighborhoods that don't have an active neighborhood association? So part of the new NORP was a mechanism to activate those neighborhood associations that are chronically inactive. The West University neighbors, Train Song neighbors, we now have pockets in West Eugene Community Organization. There are a few housing spots, I guess, in the industrial corridor, but how do we ensure that every resident has the opportunity to engage through their neighborhood association with the neighborhood organization recognition policy that we had? We just don't. So with this new one, we have a mechanism to help support those neighborhoods become active or merge with another neighborhood or split and form their own neighborhood, or there's more options. We wanted to create more options so that more people could participate.
And so a quick question for you, Cindy. When was the NORP and stuff written?
1976 was when it was approved, the original NORP.
So, and that's what we've been acting on.
Right.
70,
that was
80,
back in the days
90,
where
we're talking 50 years, right?
Yeah. When Beltline was the UGB. There was beyond Beltline, I mean, north of Beltline, where we now have the Cal Young neighborhood, Northeast neighborhood, that was cornfields. If you lived here back then, truly it was cornfields out there. There was nothing out there but corn. In West Eugene, it was all wetlands and industry and not a whole lot else going on.
Yeah, I was 13.
Yeah. In 76. Okay, well, hey, we're close in age.
Right. Do we have any other questions?
How can you hear?
Yes.
If I'm not, did we get the NORP sent to us recently, Margaret?
Yes, it's in your email.
Okay, I've been trying to open those up and it's like 20 minutes to a half hour and the little thing is.
You have to go to the bottom. It's like when I sent you that one email and I told you you had to go all the way to the bottom because I sent you an attachment. It's not a link like sending you the agenda. It was an attachment at the bottom.
It came through as an attachment and I clicked on it and it comes up, but it's not pulling it up.
Okay, we'll figure out how to work that out for you at another time.
I would like to read it because I have some, I think, some good questions that need clarified or more clearly understood as far as what the city's whose request to review the NORP, at whose bequest was that? How did that come about?
It comes up every decade.
The Whitaker Community Council was involved. We had a representative that was on the board. This is all stuff that already happened previous to this board.
Okay.
And so, and Elliot, I see your hand up, but and I know that you've asked a question already.
You.
Yes, thank you, Janet. Is there
reading
anyone else?
Reading the
NORP has their hand raised. Yes,
Margaret. So reading the NORP, you can also go to the City of Eugene's website, the neighborhoods page. If you just go to the City of Eugene's website and in the little search thing, type in neighborhoods, it'll take you to the page and the NORP is there. NORP and model charter are all there.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Elliot? Was that right?
Doriandra, actually, Elliot already,
Okay.
so
Okay.
can hold on and have some people that haven't asked a question,
Sure.
Elliot.
Yeah. I don't think I've asked a question yet to Cindy, unless.
Oh, I had you. You know what? Then I just put your name in there and never.
No worries. All right. So
Go ahead. You're up. Sorry.
yeah. So all right, we have the NORP. It's been released. It's public. What's the next step for us? Is it now in our roadhouse where we now create bylaws? Are you guys done and now's our turn? What's the next step for us? What should we do now that it's released?
Yes, excellent question. So it is up to the board. If you would like some support in drafting your new model charter, I'm here to help with that. If you take a look at the model charter, a lot of it's kind of a fill in the blank sort of a thing. And you add your own information. The board would add their own information to the model charter. And as far as bylaws go, those certainly I can help you with that, but the city doesn't provide oversight for your bylaws. Really, your bylaws are yours. Those are your guiding documents on how you, for in this case, how you work through your 501c3, and then how you support the community, how the community supports you back. This is your agreement with the membership. It's not. The charter is the agreement between the city and the neighborhood. The bylaws are between the sort of the working agreements between the neighborhood association and the membership. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. Just making sure that we can just do this ourselves from this point on. Cool.
Yes. If you would like to, yes, completely. We'll review the charters when they're finished, or we can help you if you need help with that. It's every neighborhood is different.
Perfect.
So I'm actually up next. So has the charter has that been signed off yet by the city council and the mayor?
The Whitaker charter?
No, the charter, the proposed
model charter.
The model charter, has that been?
Yes.
Okay.
It was sent together as a package deal. So there
That's
was
what I thought.
the resolution, the NORP, and the model charter.
So that's it. So so everyone needs to take that charter and incorporate it into what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay. Doriandra.
Thanks, Margaret. And Cindy, maybe this is something we should do later, but I would love clarity about the budget, or like when we're sending you our wish list or proposals, what does that timeline entail? Do we have flexibility if we add an event later on at the end of the year?
Yes. So yeah, that's excellent. Great question. So with the work plan, our program needs an estimate of what each neighborhood needs to do their work for the next year. And we have a finite amount of resources. We had full funding for that. We're on a 2-year budget cycle. So the first year of that 2-year budget cycle, we had full funding. The second year of that budget cycle, we are operating at a reduced budget. So, and I don't know what exactly those numbers look like yet, because we haven't gotten them yet. So what we are asking for from each neighborhood association is to plan out the next 12 months from July 1st through the following June 30th, what it is you need to do your work. Some neighborhoods are equipped to just really do the basics. They're going to do 4 general membership meetings. One of them will be an event, and this is the funding that they need to support that work. Other neighborhoods have some really robust programming that they would like to do. So my advice to the neighborhood associations is think big. Take a look at your survey, your neighborhood survey, the 2022 survey that you received. Take a look at that. That provides a lot of information on what the membership loves about the neighborhood association, what the membership would like to see improved in the neighborhood association. And you can use that to help feed your work plan for the next year.
Can you explain to everyone here what you're talking about? Because that happened under the previous board.
Oh, yes. So in 2022, we did, as part of this NORP review process, we did 3 different surveys. One survey was related to the neighborhood association. So we did worked with the news, with the media, with social media, with each of the neighborhood associations to really push this community survey out. And we asked people to identify which neighborhood association they were in and asked if they are involved in their neighborhood association, if they serve on a board, if they serve on a subcommittee, if they volunteer in other ways in their community, in any way in their community. We asked demographic information and what 3 things that they love about their neighborhood association and what 3 things they would really like to see improved in their neighborhood. And then that information we captured and sent back out to the neighborhood associations probably in February of 23. So the survey closed in December of 2022. So we're asking neighborhoods that are like, I don't know, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to know? Well, we have this survey that was provided. That would be a great place to start mapping what does the community want? What do they need? Public safety overwhelmingly across all neighborhood associations rose as the thing that neighborhoods would like to see improved. Now, curiously enough, safety, feeling safe in your neighborhood was also the number 1 thing that people put that they loved about their neighborhood associations. So go figure. And that's pretty consistent around all neighborhood associations. So maybe planning a safety forum would be, you guys have already done all that. Planning a safety forum might be a great event to draw more people in to the neighborhood association. It's really what we're looking for, getting more people involved. So it's just a great place to start for those who are working on their work plan and aren't sure where to begin. You guys already do a lot of really great work, so you probably already have a work plan.
Thank you. And is there anyone else, Chris, Derek? Does anyone else have any questions? Julie, do you have a question?
No, I think Cindy did a great job of explaining it. I have not read the NORP yet, but I get the vision and why it's necessary for all the neighborhood associations to be consistent with each other.
Fantastic.
So I appreciate your time, Cindy. That was great.
Thank you. You bet.
Chris, did you say something?
No, I was just going to say I enjoyed the presentation. Look forward to reading this. No questions from me, but yeah, good job with the presentation.
All right. Nobody else. I do have one final question for you, Cindy.
Yes.
Because we are there are certain things, and I learn more all the time. For instance, come to find out, if we don't have a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer, we are not in compliance with being a nonprofit in the state of Oregon, which I didn't know. The player pointed that out to me. So anything that we create as far as but besides doing the charter, it's going to have to go to the lawyer and be approved, and we're going to have to, it's going to be a big deal for us to do that. Yes. So what kind of time frame are you looking at for neighborhood associations to have this done by?
The charter, we're asking neighborhoods to start working on their charter as soon as they can.
Because ours is all one document.
Right. Well, each charter is separate for each neighborhood association. But what we want to do is take all of the charters for each of the neighborhood associations at one time to mayor and council, because they have to approve them. And they would provide, a blanket approval for all of the charters at one time. Otherwise, what we would wind up doing is, piece by piece, going to different council meetings and trying to get on their agenda, trying to get the time, and then attending the council meeting to confirm approval of the charters. So if we can have them all done at one time and just say, here we are, here's a blanket, it's one vote, one approval approves all of the charters at one time. That's really what we're striving for. So we've asked the neighborhood associations to start working on their charters and have their drafts to us, or they're really, it's not really even a draft, but their charters to us by October 31st, so that we can take those to mayor and council before they go on their winter break.
So you're talking 6 months, basically.
6 months.
Okay.
And I'm already getting emails from people saying, we can't possibly. So, okay, let's talk that through. We want to, for those that are struggling, we definitely want to talk that through. We don't want to put anybody in a bind. And we really would like to get those done and tease out the bylaws from the charter. So.
Okay. That gives me an idea. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anything else? Elliot, you have anything to add?
No, I think we're good. We still have a few things on the agenda though, so.
Oh,
actually, we don't. We will talk about the general meeting for a second, but it's already a done deal.
Cool. All right.
Den, do you have anything else that you want to say?
No, just
no.
thank you, Cindy. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
just
thank
wanted,
you.
I
Yeah.
wanted to just thank Cindy for coming tonight
You bet.
and presenting. Appreciate it.
Cindy, thank you as always.
You
It's always a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure I will talk to you next week.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Right.
You all have a really great night.
Thank
it's good
you.
to see
You
everyone.
actually, you may want to hear what we're going to talk
Oh.
about for 2 minutes, just so
Okay.
you know. So I have already, I need to send out, my goal is for us to start sending agendas out and having them made public and creating events for meetings, including this meeting, which is actually a public forum, and the agenda should be posted online, and we should have an event created for it. But next month, I already have Emily Proudfoot and all of the Parks and Rec folks have agreed to come. And the priority that we're going to talk about is Scobert Park. I reached out to her. I emailed. You guys were all CC'd on the email. She did say that she went over a little bit of the Sue, what you made, your draft, and she said she incorporated some of that, and so I'm really curious to see what that is. One thing I did talk to Beth, who is not here. Steen's Design, I'm sorry. So I talked to Beth about doing a tour. You asked me, Cindy, about doing a tour of the mission, and I thought maybe it would be a good time to do if Parks and Rec was coming, to also invite everyone on the board that wants to go. And she said that, and I'll send it out on the agenda soon once I get to talk to her. But she said that she will take us on a tour, like if you are coming to live there, like if you're coming off the streets, and if you come through the front door, and what the process is that you go through, which I personally would be, I would be very curious. And then take us through the facility, back through their kitchen where their training is and where they graduate people. And we will probably do that about 6 o'clock, and then have our meeting at 7. So I think I'm going to ask her if we can invite Parks and Rec and see how many of those folks want to come. And Cindy, if you could see how many of you folks want to come. And then, and the board, anyone that wants to come in person, we'll talk about that. And then we can get an idea of what they actually do there and get a firsthand look. And it is 8:58. So Cindy, thank you very much. So look for an agenda to come out pretty quick. We'll create an event and we'll start promoting it so we can get some more people at our next general meeting. Okay. Are there any last, we have 1 minute. Janet, we only have 1 minute. We cannot go.
I know
past
that. I
12.
know that. I heard it. Let's not eat it. I'd like to add Washington Jefferson Park at some point and the rail yard area for beautification or putting up a wall of trees or something.
Right, and those,
cute.
I read that your email on that, and those are all
Yeah.
great ideas. We talked in the last board meeting, and the board made it. It was, you know, we talked about what we wanted to do, and the majority of the board wants to deal with Whitaker or with the Scobert Gardens because that's what they're talking about changing.
Yes, but
Um,
I'm meaning in a soon future date. Surely the board isn't that narrow in their scope on agendaizing
Yeah.
ideas.
All right. Thank you for your input very much.
Thank
And you guys have a great night and enjoy the beautiful weather.
Thank you, Margaret.
All
We'll
right.
see
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you, Chris.
Bye.
Bye.